Hey guys, I'm here to do a tutorial on how to create your own Kodi fork as opposed to just an APK. I've had a few people say that they don't see the point in it, and there's if you can just use Kodi, then there's no point in making a fork. So there's two reasons you want to make a fork. Number one, for me personally, I like to have more than one version of Kodi. So I use Android TV, and I also use Amazon TV products. So when you try to put two versions of Kodi on, you can't do it because the package name and version are the same. And then if you change the version, it just either updates it or fails because the version is lower than the original, whatever. So for me, I like to have more than one build at a time because I have a smaller, faster running build for the Fire Sticks, and I have a larger version for the box, and I have a different version for Android. I have a Netflix looking version with the Titan skin, and all that I can put on one box using this method. And I also wanted to just talk about that people kind of frown upon using the Kodi forks and putting them on box and selling as a box seller. So being in a group that seems to be a little more open and subject to opinion, I want to get out there that box sellers provide a valuable service, because I think a lot of people in the Kodi community don't realize 99% of people have no idea, would not even know where to begin to get Kodi on a device, create a build, and do things like that. So the service box sellers provide is really a plug-and-play option for those who don't want to learn. That they work long days and they come home and they just want to watch TV without getting ripped off by their cable company, without getting ripped off by satellite or whatever. So that's the service box sellers provide. With that being said, I do think it's important especially for box sellers, because I'm willing to learn because I can turn around and profit from it, and I also enjoy the learning process within Kodi. So I do think it's important to share the information that you come across. So with that being said, I'm just going to jump right in how to do the Kodi fork. So I know a lot of you probably already know how to do an APK, and there is a difference. The APK, you can make 20 copies of it, but you can only keep one on an Android device. So one thing you're going to need to start is your APK tool. I don't know if Trent has a version that he's going to put up in the group, TK's applications for Kodi. If he puts it up, fine. If not, I'll see if I can find a way to put mine up. And you'll also need a copy of your Confluence skin. So what we're going to do is jump right into decompiling it. We'll just do the full guide for those who have never done this. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you put your Kodi app into the APK folder, and you're going to click CD, change directory, and just drag the APK folder over and click enter. And then you're going to put APK tool D for decompile and drag over Kodi. You'll hit enter, and it takes a minute or two, sometimes faster than others, obviously. Okay, so it looks like we're done. You'll know it's finished when it just kind of kicks back to where you are in the folder, in the directory. So from here, you'll see over here at the APK tool, let me see if I can zoom, that you now have a folder named Kodi 16.1 Jarvis blah blah blah. So the first thing I always do is I rename this to whatever I want. So for now, we're going to name it tutorial, and we're going to open it up. There's a few things that you need to change. The first thing, I just kind of start from the top so I don't lose where I am. So we go into assets, and the first thing I do is I go into add-ons, and this is where you're going to add your wizard. So basically you would pull that if you did this on Windows, which is the best way to do it. I don't know how to pull just a folder from like an Android device. So you would go to your app data and roaming folder, go into Kodi, and you should find your program that you use in here. I also pre-install my repository, and what this does is basically it kind of hardwires it in there. It makes it so you cannot uninstall it. It makes it part of its core software that can't be uninstalled. So that's really good, especially for a box seller who has people screw up all the time and delete Kodi or delete the build or whatever. So it's useful for those, so you can just say go into programs, program add-ons, and the wizard's still there. So you'll add that here. And one other thing, if you want to really get into this, is you're going to go down to your skin Confluence, and you can change a lot of this stuff. You change your backgrounds here. This is a big one for me. What I do is I go in and I make, like, I create a 1080 by, what is it, 1920 by 1080, I think. Yeah, 1920 by 1080 file in one of my photo apps, and I put instructions on the main page pretty much. So it'll say, you know, step 1, go to programs, program add-ons, blah, 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 blah. And you just basically name it this same exact thing. Make sure this one's a JPG file. And you kind of just replace it, make sure it's in all caps, just like this. So then when people fire it up, it'll have your instructions on it instead of, you know, this little background. I do the settings as well. I just put in a different picture. So that's one thing you can do. And I also decompile the skin, and I'll pull that up and show you what it looks like. So when you decompile it using the Kodi Textures tool, you'll go in and you'll see this logo, which is what is by default in the top left corner. So if you don't want any traces of Kodi, you can get rid of this. You can make a blank one. You can make your own logo, whatever you want to do, just so they don't see it's not Kodi anymore. It's your version. And also, I know that people kind of frown upon that as well because, well, you know, it's people's work and you're taking away from Kodi. This is open license software. You're free to do with it whatever you want. That's what it's made for. So, you know, people that are interested in making their own app, even if it's just for yourself or whether you're trying to turn around and give it to people or sell it to people, this is really useful stuff because you can learn a lot just from doing something like this and learn how to operate other apps and stuff like that, and maybe even create your own one day. So once you go in there to your 720p, you don't really need to change anything in any of this stuff like you would if you were doing a build. Unless you wanted to, you could go in and change fonts and stuff like that. This is where you find your textures that you would decompile in the media folder. And I think that's it for here. You can change the icon of the skin if you want. I never really do that. And that's really all you need to do in this folder. I'm not going to do any of that right now just because it's a tutorial. So next is your media folder. You need to change all these to get rid of traces of Kodi. These are the icons and your splash. So like when you fire up Kodi and it says preparing for first time run, this is what comes up here. You can change that. Make sure you capitalize the S and it's PNG. And all these need to be the same name. Icon 48 by 48, etc. What I do is I just open a new folder and I create different folders for each size icon. You should create this one, and there's another spot that you need different sizes, and you can find out what size you need. I mean, these ones are named at 256 by 256, but there's also another spot you need to do that, and you don't really need to do anything else in any of these folders. So from here you're going to go to your res folder, and this is the other pictures that you need. Here's a second splash. Basically, if you change one and not the other, it will switch. Like it'll say preparing for first time run, and then it'll switch to this splash. So you can do both. Change them both. I do the same picture when I change it. And then you also have all your drawable folders here. And these you find out what size they are by going to properties and details, 72 by 72. And then do the same thing as before. Create new folders within a folder. I don't know if I even have that. Let me see. Yeah, see, I have all the different sizes that you need here. So you go in and you change all these, name them iclauncher.png, and there's only one other one. I think it is the 190 or something like that, where you also have a banner. This is, I think, 320 by 180, which is just scaled 1080. So if you'd made one 1920 by 1080, it will scale the same size as this. And this, you know, you just keep doing the same thing, finding the size of each one and replacing them with your image, 96 by 96. I'm not going to do any of that just because I want to keep the video short. You also need to go here to your values. You're going to open that up and you're going to go into strings, right click that. If you don't have Notepad++ or some kind of editing software, you're going to need that. So I'm going to open with Notepad++, and we're going to change the brouhaha. I've never seen this show up, so I always just name it the same as what I'm doing the fork of. So we'll name that tutorial, and we'll change Kodi also to tutorial. So this is where what shows up when, like, if you have this on your device and it says Kodi 16.1 blah blah blah, this is where it fetches that name from. So you'll name that tutorial and click save. So from here You go back again, and that's pretty much all you really need to do in any of these folders. This is your XBMC properties, and none of this stuff really matters. You can mess with this, and one thing I also do is I change, oh, here it is. So that was in Assets, User Data, and you can change your RSS feed information so it doesn't pull the Kodi one. So you can delete the top two. You have to leave one in, even if you put a dummy link in so it's not really pulling anything, that's fine. But if you, for some reason, if you delete all of them, you won't be able to add it in Kodi. So you have to leave one. So we'll just, we'll put a dummy one in there and say tutorial.com/tutorial.rss.xml, and that'll pull. So immediately when you open the fork, it's pulling your particular RSS feed. And that's pretty much it from here. So now we come here and we've changed all our pictures, we've changed our strings and the RSS feed, manipulated the skin to how we want it. And the only other thing you need to change is right here, apktool.yml. And you're going to edit that with Notepad. I know this is kind of hard to see because I have it in light gray. So the first thing you're going to want to change is the APK file name. I'm going to change it to tutorial.apk. And then right here, rename manifest package where it says null. We're going to rename that to com.tutorial. So you can really name this whatever you want. It doesn't matter. This is just your package name. Anyone familiar with like ADB shell and pulling, let's say I want to know what files exactly are on my Amazon Fire TV, and you do the shell pull and it lists all the files, you're going to notice that they're all in this format, com.Kodi, or the original is org.xbmc.Kodi. You can name it whatever you want as long as it's in this format. Then you also can change your version number. You don't have to, but you can. I do it just because I don't want it to say version 16.1. I want it to say version 1.0 or 1.5, whatever. So I'm going to change my version code to 100,000, and I'm going to change the version number to 1.0. And we're going to save that. Let me just go through and make sure I've saved. I think I have. And that's really it, guys. Now, at this point, we're going to come over back to our command prompt, and we're going to type APK tool B for build, and we're going to name the folder that we created, which for this one is tutorial. Okay, and once that's complete, all that really did was build it so it would have an Android version, I believe. So your build and your APK, it added all this stuff. So from there, you're going to go back into your command prompt and you're going to put APK tool B for build, the folder name tutorial, and then -O tutorial.apk. So you're building the folder into an active APK file. Okay, so once that's complete, you'll see here we now have tutorial.apk, and we're almost finished. In this one, we have the Easy APK disassembler, and you're going to open that up, and you're going to click enter, and then you're going to type in the name of your APK. So for this one is tutorial.apk. And you can see that 4 is just sign in APK, and this is going to make it basically so you can, download it to your devices. Any key to continue, enter, 9 to exit, and then that's it. You see here now we have the signed _tutorial.apk. This is the version you want to install. As long as you have a different package name, you can install 100 copies of this same thing. It doesn't matter. This is useful for those who want to keep, say, Jarvis 16.1 and also play around with 17 Krypton. And it's also useful if you want different skins, different builds, but you don't want to, download an update every time that you're feeling like you want to play around with something different. One thing that is important that I didn't mention is in your APK YML, make sure you leave this space right here before the C. So when it originally started, it said null. You want to put it in the same exact space. If you put it right up against here, then it's going to fail to build. It'll actually tell you exactly where it failed. It'll say apktool.yml line 13 unreadable, blah blah blah. So I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, reach out to me. You can reach out to me through here, YouTube, or you can get to me in the group, which is TK's Applications for Kodi, and I'm sure that I wouldn't be the only one happy to help. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks.